Ironically, this part of the video doesn't have really much to say. I gotta be quite honest, I really enjoyed the Macy's promotion, despite really not knowing a whole bunch about it. I didn't really know much until about 2018. Like, for example, I had no idea they actually had collectible plushies till I was just looking up Guy Diamond plushies. And, that year, every year Macy's does like collectible holiday plushies, and that year was Trolls, and the limited time plushie was Guy Diamond, but they did have a Poppy and Branch and a Biggie that were meant to last a little bit longer compared to Guy. If Guy sold out quick, that was it. I'm assuming Poppy, Branch, and Biggie were meant to at least last for as long as Trolls was in theaters, or maybe even a little bit until 2017. I'm very curious if they're going to do this again. The other thing is, they had a whole bunch of different Trolls merch, to shirts, to bedding, to really other and a lot of other miscellaneous merchandise, and we'll get into that after this. But the most interesting thing is they had a toy section. Macy's, I don't know how long Macy's has had a toy section, but they've had a toy section, and when Toys R Us went down under, Macy's revived it. And if you're a Trolls fan, you know about Trollabration, the commercial using Trollabration, the fact that Trolls was literally Toys R Us's bread and butter, practically doing a lot of heavy lifting for both Waves 1 and half of Wave 2 till Toys R Us went under. So really, I'm actually kind of curious as to whether or not Macy's and Toys R Us are willing to partner up with Trolls yet again and pretty much recreate 2016 all over again. But we'll see when that comes, but I would like to see that again. In terms of Toys R Us, I mean, if Walmart and Target aren't going to properly do things that they need to do, I would at least hope that Toys R Us would at least pick up a lot of the slack. And yeah, that's really it in terms of Toys R Us. I didn't really have much for that part, and I will say I'm definitely curious if Macy's willing to do an exclusive plushies again. But we'll see in due time, or whether or not this promotion will even remotely happen. But let's just throw a hypothetical. What if it does happen again? And that kind of leads me to one of the best things about when Macy's had Trolls in the first place: the miscellaneous aspect of the merchandise. I think the best thing about Macy's and the way they promoted Trolls, and maybe even Walmart and Target too, but I feel like Macy's did a little bit better because Macy's is just a completely different store. But I like the fact that there were juniors and women's clothing options. I like the fact that there were actual adult ceramic dinnerware sets. There was actually a DreamWorks Trolls drinking glass that was breakable. There were a lot of things that were aimed at the older side of Trolls that you didn't really see in the other places in other stores. Maybe just ever so slightly, but not by a lot. And I feel like Macy's demonstrated that DreamWorks Trolls could be for everyone. Or, well, I mean, it is, but since we're talking about 2016 and things were a little bit experimental, the fact that they showed that side is very important. And I feel like from 2016 to 2017, demonstrating this factor definitely could have been something pretty good. Like, for example, one thing when I look up this type of Trolls merchandise that was more so adult leaning, I've noticed that they're sold out, or at least they're on other websites like eBay and stuff, but the quantity is not a lot. So it does kind of show that these items were sellers and they were hits. And it makes me think about Trolls World Tour. Now, when I was looking up for just either a DreamWorks Trolls shirt that was for adult sizes, and especially a Guy Diamond one, and I didn't want to use the one on Zazzle.com. No offense to Zazzle, but I wanted something a little bit different than what the Zazzle shop was offering. And I had to do a lot of lurking. In fact, it took me about maybe 3 to 4 days to look for something until I found an actual website that actually had a Guy Diamond adult t-shirt, but hunting and searching for 4 days shouldn't have taken me that long. In fact, all it should have done is taken me to say like Walmart, Target, or heck, even Macy's and said, here you go, here's an adult size troll shirt, or if you're looking for an adult size Guy Diamond t-shirt, here you go. So really, the fact that back in 2016 to 2017, these easier options were there, and the fact that World Tour struggled in this department very much shows how differently Trolls was being approached and handled. And I gotta be honest, I really think that this would be great if Trolls 3 just embraced this side that they had back in 2016. In fact, I think that since we're talking demographic wise, I think a lot of parents would be happy with this. Maybe a mom or dad or whoever in the family enjoys DreamWorks Trolls with their family and would like clothing options like their kids. And I don't think that's a bad idea. Or heck, what if you're someone like me who would just like some adult offerings like t-shirts and maybe a dinnerware set? That would be nice. That would be cool. And, I think making Trolls for everyone and offerings very little options. Again, like the items I mentioned, like clothing, a breakable dinnerware set, a breakable drinking glass, like that's enough for adult fans, in my honest opinion. Maybe a statue, that'd be kind of cool, but we're not asking for much, and they offered that back in 2016, and, well, I think that should come back again. So, this is where I'm going to conclude everything here. Now, the reason why I've been talking about merchandise, especially super early, and I think I've done this before, probably around like that 2018 period, but considering it's been so long and since Copa Scare was really awkward and it's no longer documented, sadly, also sorry about that, I don't know if I did this before, but the reason why I'm doing this now is mostly because I personally want to see Trolls merchandise improve for everyone, from its target demographic to someone my age. I think that everyone across the board should be able to enjoy Trolls merchandise again. I think that everyone should be able to feel welcomed with the brand again. I think that, just what I've been saying this whole wave of just kind of explaining how I feel like the improvement should be. But one of my biggest fears, in all honesty, is DreamWorks' treatment. Now, this might sound odd, but not really either. But in my humble opinion, by around the mid-2010s, I personally feel like DreamWorks just doesn't care about merchandising anymore. They still care about it, of course, but it's really not important to them. And I can see why. And for me as a DreamWorks fan, I value that level of honesty that they show. It's a double-edged sword, and we'll get into that. But for them, the only merchandise they need is the movie releasing into theaters, physical and digital sales. When the movie drops in price to $5 budget DVDs, or like $9.99 DVDs, which is honestly the reason why DreamWorks is having so much longevity with DVD sales and back cataloging their franchises properly, and even not their franchises, but just a movie in general, because they have a big backlog catalog and they make sure that you're able to watch these things. That's very important for preservation and just accessibility. So they have that going for them, and then TV airings of said movies. So really, DreamWorks only really cares about that, and you could honestly tell with something like The Bad Guys, for example. The Bad Guys fandom, witnessing from a person who has not seen the movie yet but would love to, and even seeing the merchandise out in stores, fans want more. all the Bad Guys fandom really got was claw machine plushies you would honestly just have to buy online, a few activity books, and just like a really small promo on like the original Bad Guys books, like a sticker or something saying, "Hey, go watch the major motion picture now," and Carl's Jr. Happy Meal toy. So really, they didn't get a whole lot, and for like the Bad Guys fandom, they would like a lot of merchandise that they would love to have, and because of that, fans don't essentially, and I'm being honest here, fans are going to take their fandom interest elsewhere because another franchise that's not DreamWorks is going to give them merchandise that they want, and they're going to move their interest outside of DreamWorks. And the thing about that is, like, that, as we said, that's where the double-edged sword comes into play. DVD and preservation and all that, awesome merchandise, great, 10 out of 10, good job DreamWorks. But then when you look at the merchandising side, and they're not doing a good job of that, a la the Bad Guys example I used, people are going to go somewhere else and just take their things elsewhere, and that's just not good from a DreamWorks standpoint and perspective. And really, the fact that Trolls is in this really awkward position right now where Trolls fans are antsy. Now, I'm not really antsy, but I can definitely tell you I'm not happy either. The fact that Trollstopia is over, which I'm fine with that, fine with Trollstopia ending, it ended on a good note, or like a bittersweet note, I should say. But like right now, if you're lucky to find Trolls merch out in the wild, awesome. But right now, when I go into stores, I barely see any. The only place I could really tell you I honestly found some was in Ollie's, but Ollie's is a weird scenario because they're pretty much a store that just takes up like excess stock from both online and like Walmart and Target stores. So they're in a weird position. Other than that, I have not seen any World Tour or Trollstopia merch out in the wild doing some shopping. And we know why, simply because Hasbro didn't make enough stock, and at the same time, we're transitioning into the Mattel period, but we have to wait till about October of 2023 to really ever get that merchandise. At the same time, we aren't getting any new picture books or chapter books till 2023, so we have to wait for the books because DreamWorks halted that. And in terms of like random miscellaneous stuff like cups and other things, yet again, stock is so bad and limited. Stores didn't do their jobs properly. Zach Designs and other companies like it didn't do their jobs properly with stocking, and we have to wait till Trolls 3 merchandise, and again, like around that October 2023 period. So right now, Trolls fans really have to hunt for their merchandise online, and as we talked about, even online has its set of problems with stocking and the store not having enough stock. Same with the actual companies that produce them themselves, like Zach Designs. So right now, we're just in this really awkward period of just nothing going on for the Trolls brand. And one of my biggest worries is the way DreamWorks treats their older franchises. Because, for example, when Madagascar and Penguins of Madagascar were done, they didn't do anything for like old merchandise or just new merchandise being created. They didn't do anything. And then with Madagascar A Little Wild, all we got, and let me tell you, Madagascar A Little Wild fans are a little lucky, they got a whole soundtrack. So that's really all Madagascar fans really got to have. And currently, Madagascar A Little Wild's done, so Madagascar fans really don't have any merchandise, except for the the preserver, the per, yeah, I don't know how to say it. I said it earlier, but the preservation, there we go, of the Madagascar franchise DVDs and digital as well. And that's it. And here's the thing, though. Trolls doesn't roll that way. And it never has. DreamWorks signed up to make a multimedia franchise. Again, I always pinpoint to that mid-2018 period, and then all throughout World Tour, and now when making this video, that's when a lot of the problems started to show up. And to me, it shows that DreamWorks cannot handle this franchise. Not saying that, I mean, like, in terms of, like, animation-wise, absolutely fine. They can handle it. But when it comes down to doing the multimedia aspect, they're good in areas, but they really fumble the bag in other areas, and this is why this video is being made. But, like, Trolls was made to quite literally outlive every DreamWorks IP. And I'm not joking, because DreamWorks picked up a toy brand, and I don't really think they realize the implications of that. And it's just so weird to me to see something like Paw Patrol not really struggle in the merchandise department at all. No weird gaps like Trolls or anything. Same with Frozen, and like Frozen 2 is older than Trolls World Tour is, and like Frozen isn't struggling on shelves or anything like that. Let's just remove the Disney aspect of it all. They aren't struggling at all, but Trolls is. And like, again, like when you look at it back from like 2016, and heck, even when World Tour was being promoted, like Trolls wasn't really struggling. But again, since it was World Tour, there was a lot of struggling to keep the brand really in people's eyes and attention. So there's that. But like, it's so weird that 2016 through mid 2018, these problems were not there, and that's simply because there was a level of care for the multimedia aspect of things and making sure that merchandise was widely available, and at the same time that I guess really you can't really escape the brand. And when I say this, I'm not meaning that I want it to be overload, because that's where Shrek 3 went wrong, and we've talked about that before on this channel. I don't ever want that for Trolls. I don't want Trolls to get to that point. But at the same time, I would like it that Trolls is a proper multimedia franchise, and its longevity can go on, because the way DreamWorks is treating it, they're treating it like it's their other DreamWorks franchises. When they're done with it, they'll throw it away and do something completely new. And then when that's done, throw it away and do something completely new as well. And in my opinion, DreamWorks is the worst at really trying to preserve keeping branding alive, even when something's done. And even I will say this, even Universal with Illumination, if you're not Despicable Me, Sing and Secret Life of Pets have that problem. I can see where there's a little bit of difference, but even then, like, Despicable Me does take up a lot of the brand recognition, which I get why, but again, like, even Universal struggles with this ever so slightly, but it's definitely not as bad. So, really, all in all, I really hope that Trolls 3 is a wake-up call for DreamWorks to go back to their roots of 2016 through mid-2018, but don't stop after those, like, three and a half quarter years. Keep going. Keep continuing to make sure that the Trolls brand has longevity to survive. Make sure that everyone in the franchise is welcomed, and make sure that there's communication all across the board to both fans and retailers, and even Mattel, for example, and even other non-toy companies that are dealing with the brand. There just needs to just be a lot of transparency and DreamWorks putting in the effort to do what they set out to do in the first place without fumbling. Sure, there's going to be a few fumbles, but not as bad as this.